My name is Dr. Dewbray. I'm a clinical psychologist and I treat general mental health. So, if you think about seeing a psychologist, you might be familiar with things like anxiety, depression, trauma, relationships, transitions, life transitions, right? Stress. And I specialize in health promotion and disease prevention. So, really looking at stress physiology, looking at weight management, and the relationship between our minds and our bodies, so what we call health psychology or preventive medicine. For those of you I haven't met, it's really great to meet you. Today we're talking about assertiveness, how to say no, assert yourself with confidence, I think we call it, right? How to say no with confidence. We're asking you to modify lifestyle behaviors that are deeply embedded in social constructs, right? We're asking you to change the way you move, change the way you eat, perhaps, become mindful of habits that have formed over the duration of your life. And those habits didn't form in a vacuum alone on an island. They formed in the context of your life, work, your schedule, your families, your relationships. And eating is largely a social construct. I mean, we sometimes do it alone, but we often do it alongside other people. So, yes, is it Valeria? Am I saying that right? That's pretty. Um, I think learning how to set limits, how to talk about what we're doing, how we're taking care of ourselves in a way that feels authentic. And also, I really don't like the word boundaries. Feels authentic and it feels protective and it feels like you have limits that you set, but that are kind. And you get more comfortable over time taking care of your body, the way that you eat, the way that you live, in a very healthful and communicative way, I think is a really uh, helpful skill. Does that make sense? So, yes, so I want to hear, thank you. I want to hear from others too. When I talk about assertiveness and food or weight loss, what comes to mind for you? And also, if you're with us and your video is off, you can use the chat if you're somewhere that you have access to typing, if you're at a computer. You can open up that chat and I will do so as well. There we go, so that I can see it. You can also use the chat to enter anything in on there right there as well. Okay, why is there's like this fish by my head? This is a new setup for me tonight. A new login. Is there like a fish by my head? Do you guys see that? A jellyfish? It's so weird and I can't get rid of it. So I'm sorry. That is very weird. And I'm not I'll have to ask them why I have a jellyfish by my head. I know it's crazy and strange. So, okay. Sorry about that, fish. All right. So, talk to me. Talk to me about assertiveness. What comes to mind for you when I say that word? When you think about this journey that you're on with fitness and health and weight loss, say more. Anybody else have any other thoughts? No? How about is there anyone here that has a hard time saying no? Just in your life in general. Is it hard to say no? Are you someone that is more skillful and you think, no, I got this down. I don't have any problem setting limits because I want to hear from you too. If limits come more naturally to you, maybe you had parents or people in your life that modeled healthy limits. Maybe you were fortunate to grow up with that modeling and you have a good working knowledge of that. We want to please other people, and sometimes that interferes with us saying no. Would that be fair? Yes. Um, there is a book, I have it alongside me, I'll show it to you. It's old and it's not specifically related to weight loss or weight management, but I like it. It's called Your Perfect Right. Has anyone ever read this or heard about it? So I have it there in the camera for you. It's called Your Perfect Right, Assertiveness and Equality in Your Life and Relationships. And it's just kind of like a Bible on assertiveness. It's just a very, I don't even remember when it was written, but I feel like it's kind of a dated text. Um, but a lot of us in the first edition was 1970. So there's been quite a few revisions since then, but it's kind of a good resource to just talk about what assertiveness is, why is it relevant, How do you put it in practice in your life? But I really like what you brought up, Arden. I think it's important to look at what interferes with us being assertive, especially when you're trying to change so many lifestyle behaviors. So, before we do that, let's just talk about assertiveness by definition, right? I'm going to give you the definition. I'm going to help us um, define it here in a moment. But does anyone have any ideas first about like what does it mean to be assertive? What does that even mean? Because we use that word, we use words like aggressive or assertive or passive, right? Does anyone know the difference? Like, what is assertiveness? I think it's hard. It's hard, but we use the word a lot, right? You've heard that term. But if you ask people what it means, I sometimes get blank stares, even in like a room full of 60 students. It's about being self-expressive, which let's face it, that's hard. A lot of us are not comfortable with that. It's about expressing parts of the self. You guys are nailing it. Ability to advocate for yourself, yes. You guys are nailing it. And I think that's hard to do because we can say it, but it's complicated, right? It doesn't really feel easy in the moment. And hopefully I'm going to hopefully give you some skills and tips and tricks today that will make it feel easier. So that when you leave, you're like, oh, it was an easier conversation for me to have. Um, but to put it simply, so if we think of assertiveness on a continuum, there's people that are passive, people that are assertive, and people that are aggressive. I'm not suggesting any one of those is right or wrong or better than the other. They're all different. So a passive person can't say no. An aggressive person won't take no for an answer. See the difference? A passive person can't say no, and an aggressive person won't take no for an answer. They're aggressive. They're pushy. They're they can feel bullying. They can feel persuading, they can feel convincing, instead of the assertive person who really wants both people to win, essentially. They want to find equality in the conversation. They have respect for your position and their position. They know their position. They are firm and descript in what their position is while also respecting your position. So it's this middle ground of what I desire matters and what you desire matters, and we can desire different things and we can both be okay. And it's really interesting. You're going to start to experience when you're out in public, when you're eating with friends. We sometimes feel so much pressure around food, how to eat, what to eat, when to eat. And and it feels high conflict sometimes to say no to, especially to an alcoholic beverage, or to something that your friends are enjoying. But really, it's because we sense that there's like this conflict. They want you to have something. Well, what if you also really want the thing? What if you also really want the greasy, delicious, like deep dish pizza they're eating? What if you also really want that? So part of being assertive is expressing your own desires and wishes. But what I love to teach and what I feel like it's not always in the assertiveness text is the best way to diffuse that initial conflict. And those of you that have had me for other classes might have heard me say this, but the best way to diffuse that initial conflict where you know you're coming up on saying no, but you're not there yet, is join. Join, join, join. There's very rarely a conversation where there is not some degree of agreement. Very rarely. I really mean that. I'm going to go with almost never. Even if people are talking about a very controversial topic, typically there is an area for agreement. Find it. So everyone's eating or drinking something delicious, and you feel awkward and uncomfortable, not engaging, but you really want to, and they really want you to. There's your area of agreement. You say, I really want the pizza. I love pizza. And we're in Chicago and it's deep dish and they have the best food. And gosh, I hate to not eat that tonight. I really, really want the pizza. Well, now you're joined. They want you to eat it. And you know what? So do you, which is very different than starting off with no. Oh, I can't have that. We got to go to a different place. I got to look at a different menu, or I don't know. You're starting with, I really, really want that too. You immediately diffuse the conflict. Could do this with alcoholic beverages. They want you to drink, you want to drink. Now you're joined. There's no conflict anymore. You both want the same thing. Is this making sense? So start there. Then you're going to communicate the wish. And I really, really wish I could. And you're going to state your need and your vulnerability. So I really, really want the pizza. Now you guys are joined. They want you to eat it. You want to eat it. You really wish you could. And we can go with whether it's pizza or sugar or alcohol. And I feel really sick when I eat that. My sugars are not, they're off the charts. I'm trying to improve my labs, whatever it is for you. Now you're being vulnerable. Now you don't always have to explain all this, and it might not be a circumstance where you can, but I'm going to give you a variety of scenarios. Essentially, you're going to say, I want to eat the thing. I wish I could eat the thing. Here's why I can't. And that's a sometimes. You might not always share that much. Um, and you're going to say, I need to choose something. Gosh, is there anything else good on this menu that maybe is like not quite so greasy or fatty or whatever, it is, or it doesn't have quite as much sugar? Ask them to help you. It's very unlikely that your friend will be like, sorry, man, that sucks for you. I mean, usually your friend will be like, well, I don't know. Let me see. I mean, oh, this kind of looks good. I mean, maybe you could do it this way, right? But we don't want to ask for help. So often it's very, very uncomfortable. So pay attention to that. Pay attention to when you need to set limits, all of the nuances around that. Is it because you have a hard time asking for help? Do you feel uncomfortable when your position is different than another person's? Because if that's the case, start with my first suggestion. Find the agreement. There's almost always agreement before you veer off in your separate position lane. Okay, so feel free and give yourself permission to express more, join more, be vulnerable. Okay, I feel really sick when I eat that. Maybe you do. I feel really sick when I drink alcohol. I don't like it. And I don't not drink because I have any type of religious commitment or I'm not a drinker. I don't drink. I don't like it. I've never felt good when I drink. And even at this age, and maybe some of you can relate. And I love my dear friends, but many of them drink, some of them a lot. But even at this age, right, I have to explain that. Can anyone else relate to that? If you haven't drank or eaten something, it's like you have to explain yourself, right? So I think practicing this language is so important, even in adulthood, because unfortunately, there is peer pressure, there is societal experiences when you're with friends, and you have to have the language or what happens. We often end up not honoring our original desire or commitment or whatever it was. And that is not good for self-preservation. It's not good for reaching your goals. And it's a slippery slope, right? So I want you to practice. Think about conversations that regularly occur in your life, relationships where it feels hard to say no, contexts where it feels hard to say no. So, depending on what type of culture you're from, Italians, my family is from Italy, and they eat like it's kind of rude if someone has prepared something to not taste it or not enjoy it. And you really need to think about like in those settings, who does it feel hard to say no around? Are there particular people or circles or times of day, or is it work? Is it family? Is it happy hour? And really get practiced at that. And you know what's so beautiful? People look up to that. They admire that. In the moment, it doesn't feel good, but I promise you, when you start shifting how you eat around other people and specifically how you drink, you will be very, very surprised how many people, they might not tell you in the moment, but they've had the same thoughts. They have some of the same concerns, right, for themselves. They wish they didn't eat so much sugar. Oh man, you're not gonna, I don't know how, I've never been able to turn down ice cream. I love ice cream. You're not gonna eat that tonight? And it's really beautiful being a model and an advocate, not just for your own health, but for health. It's really, really life-changing, you guys. Being an advocate for health. Your friends and family will witness it. It is very, very cool. It doesn't feel like it in the moment, but you will notice that other people, sometimes they will share that they would like to drink less. Gosh, they wish that they didn't drink so much. And how do you do that? Or, that they were able to eat more vegetables. How do you do that? Those don't taste good. I don't even like those. How do you do that? Every time we go out, you get salad. And guess what? Now there's an opportunity for education, sharing, right? Conversation, connection. So don't be afraid to be who you are and be on this journey and do it with vulnerability. Talk to people about it. You would be very, very surprised how many people, I don't want to say will have like envy or jealousy is not the right word, but they're curious about the same things that you're doing. And it really makes them feel good to witness somebody else implementing changes. You guys have probably experienced that. You see a friend who loses a lot of weight. You're like, man, that you look great. Like, what have you been doing? How have you done that, right? Or you might know people that just tend to choose nutritious foods. I'm always in awe of those people. I love watching people that eat well and make it look easy, right? And I'm always curious, like, okay, gosh, your diet just seems really clean. Um, I worked with a nutritionist years ago. I love her. Her name is Kirsten Carey, if anybody knows her. I don't even know if she would call herself a nutritionist. Do you remember the heck, Nourish? Has anyone ever been? It was called Nourish. It was a restaurant in Gilbert. It's not open anymore. But if you're familiar with it, Kirsten and Anthony were the owners, and they're just incredible people that understand the immune system, food, nutrition. And I remember talking to Kirsten because she doesn't eat gluten. And I was like, I'm like Italian, like give me a loaf of bread and some olive oil and just leave me alone. Like I could just live on that, right? Like it's just what I eat. Um, and she said, it's just not a food group. And I was like, what? She goes, it's not a food group. And I was like, that's ridiculous. It definitely is. That's ridiculous. But she had the most interesting cognitions for herself around gluten. It's not a food, it's not a consumable for her. It's really genuinely not even an option. She doesn't eat it. And it's not a temptation. And just like opening up that dialogue, but it took me being vulnerable and saying that would be really hard for me. I don't know how I would do that. And then hearing her narrative around that, I invited that in, right? So don't be afraid to say what's hard for you. Talk about your journey and let people in to share their wisdom, to share their hardships, to talk about where they're at. And you would be really surprised how much you'll learn and connect with other people. And I find sometimes with this like assertiveness training, people will go out and eat and they kind of shrink at a dinner table. Do you ever feel that? You kind of shrink and you like look at the menu like, oh, I hope they have like a lean and green section, right? And you're like looking at the menu, trying to figure out what you're going to eat, and it's very isolating. So let it be less isolating, more communal, more conversation, and don't be afraid to talk about where you're at and what you're doing. And people will love to hear about it, really. And they will absolutely admire your courage, your motivation. Don't be afraid to talk about it. So when we talk about assertiveness, we've got passive, we've got aggressive, and we've got assertive. That's somewhere in the middle, right? And I started to tell you assertiveness is expressive, it's respectful, it's honest, it's honest, it's firm. And that's a loaded one because when you are having to set a limit, you have to do it with your entire body. You can't just do it with your voice. You can't like shrink and be like, oh, I'm not, I don't really, I'm not gonna eat. You have to be like, I don't eat XYZ. Or if they're choosing a restaurant, do you feel safe and comfortable to speak up? Do you say, hey, is there anything else besides the brewery? I didn't really see much on the menu. that I can eat tonight? Like maybe can we go out for Asian food? That's always a good choice. They have vegetables, they have chicken, right? You might say like, is there anything else besides the pub? I didn't really see anything at the brewery that I could eat. Is there anything else that other people like? Be prepared to make those requests because oftentimes people don't care. They're happy to pivot and then you don't have to starve or eat the wings and the pizza and the pub pretzels and everything delicious, right? So don't be afraid. Um, put yourself in contexts that set you up for health. And I'll say that again. Put yourself in contexts in situations that set you up for health. So, and that's not just food, it's moving your body, it's decent weather. Arizona is not the best for health right now, but we're getting there. Um, and it's accessibility of like healthy food, right? And maybe it informs where you travel. Has anyone ever noticed? Because I really love Arizona. I'm actually quite an advocate for this state. I don't know how you guys feel about it here, but I do love it. I think we have great produce. I think we have access to healthy foods. I really think it's a wonderful place to live. When you travel to like the Midwest, let's say, they don't have as much produce. You can go to the store and it's there, but it's not as fresh. It's not as good. We just have a lot of options here, and I think that's really, really helpful. And so I really want to like have you focus on what's good, kind of about where you are, what you have access to, and let that be such a great resource on this journey, even just that we have so much sunshine. Pretty soon we'll be out of this incredible, incredible heat where you can get outside and move your body more because this idea about finding your authentic self, letting your actions be congruent with your goals, letting your actions be congruent with your goals, and we'll talk about that. It has to do with assertiveness as well. Um, I think living here helps with all of that. That's what I'm saying. We have a lot of abundance here, and I think being here is really, really helpful. So finding gratitude in that and letting that work for you is is a very useful cognition. It's a useful strategy and it's a real one. We're not just making it up. Like we do have a lot of abundance here. When you start to say no to somebody and you go into the negative, the doom and gloom about how terrible your weight loss journey has been and oh, this is so hard, you can be vulnerable and you can say what's tough. But you have to have a balanced conversation also with how, it's actually going pretty well. I'm meeting some of my goals and others are hard, but living here has been really great and it's really helpful because I can get outside a lot. Like find the goodness too as you're communicating no's, as you're explaining things to people, let it be balanced and notice what's good. It's a really, really essential skill. We talk about that in some of the other classes with gratitude and stress management, but notice what's good. A great strategy is put yourself in context where it's easier to be authentic, to take care of yourself, whether that's by virtue of where you live, the neighborhood I know we can't all move houses when we're trying to lose weight to go live somewhere more desirable, but find yourself locations, people, places, circumstances where it is easier for you to take care of yourself. Following? Where it's easier. I think that's really, really essential. A good communities of friends, family, etc. And it's okay to temporarily avoid circumstances, people, places, experiences that don't serve you right now. Avoidance is not a great strategy if it's our only strategy. It is okay when it is sometimes our strategy. It just depends on the context and where you're at in your life. So, okay, more about assertiveness. I was talking about how it's really your whole body from your head to your toes. You got to be assertive with your whole body. You got to have good posture and not be shrinking as you're talking about something that you need to change or fix or say no. It needs to be like you need to demonstrate confidence. And that's not just in the spoken word. That's in how you present yourself in talking about whatever you're narrating. We talked about positivity. Um, And your no, I want your no to be, how I explain this one? Um, I'll back up. Assertiveness is something that we learn. It's not something we're born knowing how to do. It's definitely a learned behavior. So give yourself tons of compassion around that. You guys can probably think about family members and people in your life that have been models for you, good or bad, but that you have witnessed over the course of your development. You could probably think of some family members that are very bullying in nature, like, "Rrr," and other ones that are really meek. Can you guys identify people like this in your family? Um, and I encourage you to start to take notice of those ends of the spectrum, the aggressive and the passive. And take notice of those people that fall in the middle that you admire, where you're like, that's really cool. That person seems so confident. And um, I am not always that way. But like I talked about with the drinking, I've had to get really confident in that, even as an adult, because I love my dear friends and they drink, but they want me to drink with them. And I love them. So how do you think I do that? We should talk about this because this is directly relevant to your food journey. How would you, let's just talk through that. How would I communicate a wish, join, diffuse the conflict, right? Because that's a really good example, actually. When people are like, oh my gosh, you're not going to have the, I don't know, the signature Christmas cocktail. Like it's so good, right? Those are great times to practice being like, I love whatever the cocktail is. Those are my favorite things. I love cranberry and I love everything in there. That sounds delicious. And where do you head next? After you join, you're like, man, I want that cocktail. That sounds amazing. It's my favorite, right? And what comes next? Give me some ideas. It's where it gets hard.
You could say,
Gotcha.
maybe I'll have one in a little bit. I'm just really thirsty right now. I think I'll have some water or a soda water or something.
Genius. That is genius. And something we have not yet talked about. That is genius. You can always, it, I'm so glad you brought that up because I might have not tonight. I might have forgotten about that actually. You don't even have to say no. I love what Cheryl just said. You don't even have to say no. You can say, I might try that later. That looks really good. I'm feeling really full. Someone comes out with a tray of these amazing desserts, right? And you're like, gosh, I'm so stuffed right now, even though in your brain you're like, I could eat four of those right now. That's inside voice, right? We're just going to be like, those look amazing. Probably later I'll have one. And what happens later? Nobody remembers. Everyone's moved on. The person's moved on. They're probably drunk by the later. They don't even remember that they talked to you about the cheesecake. You probably remember because you're still thinking about it and would really like a piece. But in that moment, right, you're just deflecting. I love that. You don't even have to say no. You can say, how about later? Um, you can say, I'm gonna have some water. I'm so thirsty, whatever. I will tell you, I do like that I don't feel good when I eat that because that's a very hard one for people to argue. What are they going to say? You should make yourself sick, right? I do like, I don't feel well when I eat that. I don't feel well when I drink that. Only because it tends to diffuse conflict pretty quickly. It's hard for someone to be like, oh, well, you should, I don't know. It's hard for them to force that on you. Drinking specifically, you just carry around a club soda. That's pretty easy. I mean, that's like not what this class is about, but maybe we can generalize it even like there's probably a way to have things on your plate so that people are not continually asking you to try things. You could put things on your plate. You could take your fork and you could cut into them a little bit in pieces, and then people are not asking you. There are ways to get creative. Whether you're doing that with, like you did that with your language by saying, oh, I'm saving that for chocolate. I'm gonna have some chocolate cake later, and I'd rather have that than the spritzer or whatever, right? I love that. Or like I said, you could do it visually with your plate. You could carry around a drink. Um, that's a great idea. I have some other peers that don't drink and they'll even carry around a beer, the same beer for the whole night. And not drink it just to be not bothered. I will usually do club soda or something like that. These are good examples. Okay. Any other, what about like movement? People that don't move their body, that's just a harder one. But does anyone ever have trouble like with maybe peers or family or people that are more sedentary than you, and so you want to be sedentary alongside them, and that can also be hard? I work with some families right now here, and it's so hard when kids have to try to lose weight. Can I just say that? Just put it into the universe. It's not the same as with adults. It's really, really hard. It's like I have to set my sadness aside it's just really hard. They're just in a totally different boat. And maybe some of you were in that boat, as children too. It's really, really hard. And um, I think sometimes, so like kids are dealing with maybe peers that would rather play video games, right? But they need to move their bodies. And maybe that's less common with adults, but think about like for the kids I was talking with earlier today. I don't see kids, but they kind of came with their family. And they were like, well, it's hard. Like we know we need to get out and like ride our bike or go walk the dogs or go play. I think sometimes, the community that we're into, if we're around people that are sedentary, take notice of that, right? How do you manage that? If you're not in the gym, I would tell you if you're not going to some type of organized activity or formal activity, class, whatever, on your days off, you still need to be walking. And I love that you're doing that. I do have patients, I'm a little bit hard on them sometimes when they're like, isn't 3 to 4 days a week enough? No, the days that you're not doing more vigorous activity, be walking, but join them. So if they want you to try something, be like, that sounds really useful. There's no disagreement there. They're doing strength training. They're probably doing cardiovascular endurance training. You know, uh, it's useful. It's a useful activity. I don't know that it's useful for you. We're not even going to get into that, right? That's where you don't have to. You're just saying, gosh, what a good idea. You should come and do XYZ. Be like, that is such a good idea. That sounds really cool. Because it does. I mean, that sounds like a really fun activity. They might not recognize that for you, that feels daunting or disinteresting, but we're not there to explain all the parts of you, right? Tell them that their idea is great because you know what? It's stemming from a place, even if we don't love the approach, it's stemming from a place of care, right? If they didn't care, they wouldn't bother
Mhm.
saying it. We don't love what they're saying, maybe. We don't love the approach, but it likely stems from a place of love and care. So let's just join them there and appreciate the love and the care, right? Tell them their idea is amazing and be like, one day, oh, this is going to piggyback on whose? Cynthia's, Cheryl's. Um, one day I just might get to that class with you. That could be good. Future, put it out
Yeah.
into the future, right? One day that could be really fun. I love that you're bringing that up. See how you're joining? They think it's fun. You're
Yeah.
like, that sounds fun in 2032, but that sounds fun. You're joining right off the bat. That sounds fun. I love how much you care about me. I think one day I might get to one of those. For now, and this is where you're going to come into the present, be vulnerable and ask for what you need. For now, you know what? Walking is working. I'm losing weight and it's working for me right now. I would love to get to your kickboxing class someday, but right now, this is working for me. And then be vulnerable and ask them to come. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll have a little quicker step with you alongside me. Would you come and do like a brisk walk with me? I bet you they
Mhm.
would. Invite them into your world, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of like even when you're eating food with people, invite them to eat how you're eating. They don't have to, but you could ask them to try something new or different or less sugar or less, you know, more nutrient dense with you. But so try to invite them. Remember, don't let it be isolative. If they say no, it's not a rejection, it's just a demonstration of where they're at, right? That's it. Doesn't mean anything about you. And you go on your way and you go for your brisk walk. And I'm so proud of you. If you are losing weight doing that, keep doing that. Because what you're doing
Thank
is
you.
building endurance, muscle memory, stamina, right? So eventually you
Mhm.
might want more than your brisk walk. And if you don't, that's okay too. But you're just paying attention to conditioning your own body, and that's what matters. So good job. Good job. That was a great example, though, you guys. So really think about joining. Join, join, join. Diffuse the conflict, state what you need, be vulnerable. And I know we're kind of wrapping up. Be authentic, communicate your desires, and do it courageously. Do it courageously. People will admire you. You might even affect somebody else's change. You might inspire them. I can't tell you like how many people have rapped back to me at later points and been like, yeah, like I drink a lot less now too. I'm like, good for you. I mean, I didn't ask you to, but me talking about it helped. That's great, right? Just be that presence for someone and you'll be surprised how many people you inspire just by walking and moving and eating a little bit better than you did yesterday. It's good. It's good to be around that type of person. Um, if you learned one thing today, it was worth it. If you have one takeaway that you can implement, I'm so glad to see you all. Do you have any questions before we wrap up? Any questions, comments, questions? No. Okay. I'm going to put my contact information in the chat in case you ever need to reach me. I'm always around. You can drop me a note. You can send me a message. There's the email and the website, email, phone number. So hopefully everybody can see that. And I did that for everyone. I did. Okay. So if you need to reach me, don't hesitate. I'm just here to be a cheerleader. Sometimes people will send me an email and they'll send me a picture of themselves out on a walk. And I think that that's amazing. So if you just ever need someone to communicate with, I'm right here to support you and cheer you on. And I wish you all the best and I will see you next month.